I bet you've seen one of these before. I bet you'd have a hard time finding someone who hasn't. This book is the most widely known and most printed book on the entire globe. So in today's world, when everyone is so connected, information is so accessible, and Christianity seems to be so widespread, is the Great Commission to go out and make disciples of all nations still relevant? Is this final command from Jesus outdated? While this book is the most widely printed, did you know that over a third of the world's population has never seen it or even heard its message? There are over 3 billion unreached people on the earth today. Unreached meaning they have never heard of Jesus because their entire community has never heard of Jesus at all. But the world is already filled with missionaries, right? So how can this be true? Well, there are a lot of missionaries, but most of them are in places where Christianity is at least somewhat familiar. And here's the reality. Less than 10% of all the missionaries around the world exist in these unreached areas where entire people groups have never heard the name of Jesus. That's right, 10%. So while we are doing a lot as the global church, there still remains a giant void we seem to have missed. What if there was a way to radically change this, to fill the void, to reach the unreached? It's that question that motivated a group of believers in 1993 to travel to Soviet Russia, where Christianity was still a crime.
Churches were burned down, torn down, confiscated by the government, turned into any function and any purpose other than houses of worship and houses of spiritual instruction.
Our meetings were underground with believers who had been in and out of prison. And they were taking great risks because they had a great passion to see God do something very unique in their countries. They had paid the price of being faithful in the midst of the hostile environment that was taking place. And we happened to come along and they would say, well, you gave us so much. And we said, no, we didn't give you half as much as you gave us.
This is where East-West Ministries began. And after a number of years, we eventually expanded the ministry beyond Russia into other countries. But while all this was happening, we realized that just adding believers to existing churches wasn't enough.
We need to act on the difference between addition and multiplication. If we're just adding people, we are going to keep falling behind. If we're just adding churches, we'll keep falling behind. Because the population is not adding, it's multiplying. Church planting movement is 3 to 20 people meeting in a home, an apartment, a business, under a tree, practicing the basic functions of a local church. We are simply saying we want to get out there and do church in the simplest form that involves the basic functions, still honoring Christ, but giving a chance to grow.
The beauty of a house church is that it's largely invisible to persecution and religious authorities that might oppose it. Everybody lives somewhere, and all we're doing is planting churches in the homes that people already live in.
When you lead your neighbor to Christ, don't bring him into your church, start another one. And when he leads his friend to Christ, start another one. She leads her cousin to Christ, start another one. So that a movement is simply something that has started to move on its own.
When we received these teachings, whereby somebody even without formal training can be able to go and testify and witness for Christ, as long as he has the calling and he has the zeal and he knows the truth, God can use him.
As the gospel spreads, it captures hearts. This leads to a church planting movement, and we are seeing these church planting movements happen all over the world.
There was this one man in Asia, and he became a believer. He learned how to share the gospel, and as he's being trained by one of our national partners, he realizes this is what God created me to do. As he began his ministry of going out and sharing the gospel, he was seeing new people coming to faith. He's training those people to go out and do the same thing that he is doing. The end result is churches are being planted and the church of God is being multiplied throughout his nation. We are dedicating our lives to taking the most important story ever written to people who have no hope, who, if they don't hear this message, then they continue to live in hopelessness. But ultimately, it started with that one person taking that one step of obedience, and God using that one step of obedience to change his life, to change his community, and to ultimately change his entire nation.
Go and make disciples of all nations. There are hundreds of thousands of words in this book. Why do these 7 continue to be so important? Since the beginning, God's desire was always for his people, every single one of them, to know him, to love him, to feel his presence. Every person on this planet, God desires a relationship with, just like he desires one with you and with me. But there are literally billions of people who have never even heard his name. And it's our joy to share that name with them. So the real question is, what will you do to help reach the unreached?